Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Duke London podcast. I don't know which episode this is, if I'm being completely honest with you, because we've recorded a whole bunch of interviews. I don't know how many there are, but there's a bunch to come out, and they're all in a different order. So this could be any episode. But this is the latest recording of the Duke London podcast. We are working on a series with Breakin Convention, One Dance UK and Project Breakalign. So this is the one of 4 episodes that is in collaboration with them, and we're just talking to different people from the dance industry about various topics. And yeah, so today I have a special guest with me. Luckily, she's a good friend of mine, but also happens to be an expert in her field, and very experienced and well versed in many things. Nadia Sohawon, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
So no, it isn't. You're like, yeah, Sohawon. Sohawon. No way, is it?
Yeah.
Sohawon. Okay,
Yeah.
Sohawon. I like that.
But I guess without a Mauritian accent, it just doesn't mean anything. So I don't know what.
Okay. Well,
Is that your Mauritian
Nadia. Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not even going to attempt a Mauritian accent. So for the listeners at home, obviously I know some of this stuff, but do you want to kind of give a little breakdown of who you are, what your kind of experience is, what journeys you went through, what different roles you played? Because I guess all of it is important to why you're important.
Oh, that's nice. Right.
Right, here we go. How long have you got?
So I am Nads. I am also a dancer on our scene. And I founded Free Your Style in 2003. And I'm also a part of Boy Blue. Mm-hmm. I've been part of a group called Bodicea, for those that remember. A popper, locker, have battled, done shows, act, martial arts, fire, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I guess I think someone asked me once to sort of sum up the title of what I am or what I do, and I've just said creative hustler, because I just don't know. I mean, I don't know how to put everything in a box. I just say I work in the arts, and then you get into the things of street dance and stuff. Yeah. So and Free Your Style is the collective that I founded in 2003, and it wasn't meant to be an agency. Okay. It was just a group of dancers covering each other's classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We were just like, can you do this? Can you do that? And then people started coming to us for jobs. Obviously, in the beginning, it was like, we haven't got any money, but exposure. And we were like, all right, And
so you mean like companies would come to you to like get dancers?
It was mainly independent artists that didn't have any money.
Got you.
So, for example, there was an artist called Axe Girl, and she was sort of really trying to get almost like hip hop grunge thing out there. Okay. And she said, do you know any dancers that want any footage for a video? Treated us really well, and we did this video. And a Kofi Mingo is in that, actually, for those who know Kofi. Yeah. And then it just grew from there, and people started hollering at us, and next year the company will be 20 years old. Wow. But I do want to say, for the first decade I managed it by myself and probably didn't profit off my own company.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah, right. It's a process. Yeah. So I guess I get shocked when people start something and they expect results so quickly. I'm like, it's a long race. So that's kind of how it started. And I do want to shout out a couple of casting directors, if that's all right, because
of course.
If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have probably been where we are. But Leanne Flynn and Carmel Cochran were 2 casting directors who were actually working under a big agency, casting agency, who now have their own casting companies, and they're doing big stuff. And they always came to us. They really believed in us, and they loved how we were very different to the other big commercial agencies, because the point of Free Your Style is we repped mainly only battle dancers or underground street dancers rather than commercial. And back in 2003, we weren't really as respected as we are now. Yeah. So that's a fight. That was a fight, and it is still a fight now. So,
I bet.
yeah, so that's kind of how it rolled. And I've never worked as an agent in my life. I don't have family in the industry. So the fact that it's here now and I'm not an agent anymore and I get to do all the cool creative stuff, and Ben and Layla are the agents, is really like fun. Hard work though, I have to keep saying that. But yeah, that's where we are.
So you're not doing, when you say you're not an agent, as in you're not doing the literal like booking and casting kind of situations, you're doing more the overall.
Yeah, so I don't have anything. I have a lot to do with the talent we take on, because I want to make sure we keep a standard. There's everyone's unique on our books, not, we want one person of each thing. We try and keep small to keep integrity and keep the quality of what we do good. But I'm a choreographer at Free Your Style, and obviously the short films that we do, I direct and I do that, and Ben and Layla are the agents. And if they need, advice, not that they do all the time, but I'll sort of drop in and go, right, who have you got on this job? I think this person would be good, because so that's how I'm involved. But I'm not repped by my own agency as a dancer.
Brilliant.
Because I didn't want any conflict.
That makes
but
sense.
just as a choreographer. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you guys do more than just being an agency, I guess, when you're saying about short films and stuff.
Yeah. So when people join us, I sort of explain, like we don't rent a big, God, I keep moving the mic.
That's
we
right.
don't rent a big office somewhere in Central, or we don't have those outgoings, because I just think if we're making money, why can't that go back into the creative side of the agency and into our talent? So for example, Boss, that we produced with Skittles, Sean Parkins and Paolo Tahira, which was filmed by Chris Brooker, who's incredible DOP. We funded that ourselves, and everyone got paid, and obviously it was low budget, short film, put it into film festivals, got some awards. So it's almost a non-profit thing that we're doing, but at least the talent then are getting a fee,
so you can
fee.
By sacrificing those outgoings to like, which could be like to make yourself seem more fancy. Like if you don't need it, you can forego that to then do more projects to get people paid in other ways.
Like what I've never, I understand it, but I've never seen the point. And especially with the pandemic, everyone was working from home. For us, there was no change apart from the amount of work that was coming in. So yeah, I like that we don't have that, and it means we can work anywhere in the world. So Ben's worked from abroad before, obviously timing's different and stuff. And that's, I've worked from Mauritius before when I've had to. So yeah, that's how we roll.
Nice. And when you say you're in charge of like the talent and like bringing certain people on and kind of, I guess in a way, like curating who you have, why is that important? Like, why does it matter? Why is it not just, because the way, I'm also kind of faking ignorance a bit in this in order to ask you these questions, but why is it important if you're an agent, right? And it's like, okay, you have a bunch of people on your books, like the most basic way of understanding an agency and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but like, is the agent has a pool of dancers, and above the agent would be like maybe a casting director or a casting agency who work with clients. So that could be Nike, it could be Rita Ora, whoever. Casting agency emails you and says, hey, we need 5 hip hop dancers who are tall and have ginger hair. And you go, oh, cool, I've got some on my books, let me send them, right? So far I'm right?
Yeah.
Cool. In a basic way.
Yeah.
So if like you just take on anyone, you also don't need to send them to every audition, right? It's like you could just take on anyone, and it's like, well, if we get, you're a terrible breaker, we'll take you on, but I'm not going to send you for any auditions unless we get a casting for a terrible breaker,
Right,
so I guess the question would be like, what's the need to curate who's on your books, and who does that matter to, besides obviously you, but what's the pros and cons of just taking on anyone, and why are agents selective about, I get why casting directors are selective, because that's literally like who they're casting for the job. But in terms of having a bunch of people on your books, why do you need to be careful?
I'm exactly like you. I thought like you. I thought that's what agents did, and I didn't want that to be the case with us, because
so there are agents that just take on anyone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Very well known ones that I've sat in rooms with at Equity, and I sort of know how their
minds work,
master plans work. So yeah, I guess because I'm on our scene, I know what we're about. I wanted, if I'm gonna be there going, I'm not happy about this about a certain agency or that might represent me. I'm not represented really by any dance agencies, if I'm totally honest. I'm like, well, this is how I'd want to be treated as a dancer, and we no one was hollering at us back in the day. No one was hollering. Yeah, they wanted breakers for this, that, and that because they, you know, non-scene people see that as cool, and how many cool points can I get for having a breaker at my party, and but I'm not going to pay them. I'm not gonna, you know, these street kids, you know, and you've got people in their 30s paying their mortgages who are street kids. But I didn't want that. I want integrity. I want us to. It doesn't. When I say it doesn't take a lot to work off authenticity, being genuine, and sort of standing by what you want. It is hard work because you're up against people that don't do that and are for profit and money. But I don't want to rep anyone, and I don't think anyone wants to be repped by us. And I'm very honest, for example, with dancers who are just in the commercial scene. They're incredible at doing what they do, but I have to say, look, we probably have nothing to offer you because the type of agency we are. We're seen as niche, which is ridiculous. It's just people, right? People see us as an underdog. People see us as a certain thing. And I know why. Maybe we're a bit grassroots. We care. We're personable. But I don't want a run-of-the-mill agency. And that's not to say the people are run-of-the-mill or the talent's run-of-the-mill. But in what we can offer, this is what we do. And I don't want to stop repping the people that come from what we do, because there isn't there's a big voice for us until we get to a certain point, and then we're treated how, you know, people sort of see it. Because if you asked anyone to describe what street dance is that isn't in our scene, oh yeah, kids outside of the boombox, like they have nowhere to go. Just
the most dated references.
Exactly. So I don't want people to see us like that, because we're not that. But so it's all part of that. And I know it doesn't have that doesn't seem to have anything to do with money, but I do think it does. The more genuine you are and the more authentic people you have that do these unique things, some things I call unique pairings, is when someone is incredible. Well, you're an example of that. I think I am as well, and a lot of dancers on our scene are, because we have to hustle, but you excel in one thing that you do and another. That's a unique pairing. You have your company, and you have your lectures, and it's unusual. There's not many people that do more than one thing to a high level. There's a place for people like that, and I want to rep really good people who want to work hard and don't go with the trends. And that's what I say to people, talent that I meet. Sometimes we meet, I say, look, why don't you write back in 8 months, see where your path goes, see what you're doing. And I just say, the moment how are people going to look to find you if you're not you? And
So would you say that reflects or that not reflects, but is that something that's more for the dancers that you represent? So like if they're, or maybe it's both, but like if they're part of the agency, they know they're part of a select group and they're there for a reason, and if they're there, it means they're gonna like potentially be offered work as opposed to just being sitting there collecting dust. Or is that more for the clients or whoever who are going to come to you and they know that you have good people on your books? Because I guess, if you have a whole bunch of people on your website, like maybe the client is looking on your website and they're like, who are these people? You know what I mean? So it's like if they look and you have an impressive roster, they're more likely to come to you. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have our dancers online. Some agencies do, and that's fine. We don't, because we want to keep it exclusive. Also, we don't want them going directly to the dancer on Instagram, paying them a low rate and no one's there to look after them. If they look after them, great, that's cool, as long as the dancer's getting what they're due.
Because that's the danger, I guess, is if you go straight from a client, it's like you might not have like the agency fee or whatever, but you also don't have anyone looking out for you or telling you, hey, that's wrong.
And that's understandable, because dancers are a bit burnt by agents. I definitely am, that would be happy to take their big percentage but not look after me. So I totally get it. And that's why we always say to these guys, look, whenever you're on a job, we're here to be the bad guy, essentially. Tell us what you need to, what you're not happy about. We're here to fight for you. We're here to suggest to you, look, if they're not going to get back to you about a job, that starts in 2 days. We're happy for you to take yourself out. Let's play their game. Like, we're on your side.
Yeah.
This is Ben and Layla's job. They're making money off it, but you cannot. It's so hard to gain trust and reputation back from the scene that you've been in.
Yeah.
And obviously that becomes a thing for me. I don't want people to think I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And also it's part of the brand is to be authentic. That's what, Of course. It doesn't feel good to be anything but, right? Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, it's for the dancers to know they're in a place where they're understood for their unique stuff. And then the client goes, you guys have unique people. Do you have this? We go, yes, we do. Or no, we don't, but we can try and source it for you. And if we know someone of that, we'll check in with them. Maybe we'll take a lower percentage on managing them because we've come to them for this. So it's all, it's all about working smart and not annoying people and just being honest. Like, I don't know why this is I don't know why it can't all be like in general for the world, right?
Yeah, I guess also in my head, I'm like how does the role of an agent differ to like the role of a manager? Because I feel like obviously dancers don't really have managers until a certain level, I find. And it's like, I feel like sometimes the work that you do as an agent is like kind of managerial work in terms of like helping the dancers or
it's like development,
advising them and stuff like that.
I guess we do sort of work as managers because look, at the end of the day, if a dancer who's never acted before gets a dance film, obviously we know there was auditions for this big Breakin film. We had quite a few people go up for it, and part of our job, which we've put on ourselves, but there's good reason for it, is look, if you're struggling with the script and we've never seen you do script, come to us, we'll do a Zoom, we give you half hour. It takes time, we're not paid for it, but if as a company we want you to get the job, you're earning us money,
sure, it's going to help to invest in your talent.
And people appreciate it, even if they don't get the job. They're like, you know what, that was really useful.
Yeah.
And for next time, then you might book us a big commercial, for them and us that, I remember what you told me last time. I applied that, I got the script, and then I had to break, head spin and say some lines. Why do we not want to, this is what I was saying to you. I get why the dancers have a funny thing with agents. I totally get it, and I can only come from a dancer's point of view where I've not felt looked after and go, right, well, this is what I want, does this help you? Good, cool, let's go. Yeah definitely. And I think like I have a little bit of experience working with you in that context, not loads, but I think I've always felt that with you. I mean, it's also different because we're friends, so I'm like, is this Nadia just being a friend, or you know what I mean, like but even just in terms of, I think I was like, like when you do that, I think it's also more likely that you're gonna want to go through the agency, because like you said, you in a way is like you're earning your percentage. It's like you're getting paid a percentage, and then it's like, oh, this is why, as opposed to like, well, what? Because I've heard a lot of times it's like, oh, well, why did I just, like, what was the point of this? Like, it's just, oh, you put me in contact with this client and that's it. But then it's like, if you're big enough that you could get these inquiries yourself, what's your motivation to do it through the agency? It's like, just DM me and we'll do it. Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Because if you're, all it is the contact that you're paying for. If you can do that yourself, then so it has to be something more,
something special in that. And we don't even take the highest, we take the lowest percentage out of all the agencies.
Right,
I know there is one that takes over 30%. For me is,
what is it, HMRC?
has the same amount of letters in its
well put. Nicely done.
So but I don't think anyone has a problem. I think dancers hopefully should be able to manage themselves, and if they get a job, all I ask them, and I'm asking it now, just charge the maximum and negotiate down to minimum. Like, don't sell yourself short. Don't say, the exposure that we've heard it so many times, like we could say that a lawyer wouldn't do that. I don't know why we have to use examples about our livelihood. It's insane. The world makes money off hip hop and street dance. Without us, why are we not making that?
But do you think also with that, I feel like in the arts, like to be a lawyer or a doctor, right, by the time you get to the point of charging someone anything, you're a certain level of experience and age. Like, because you've had to study it, you've had to get your qualifications, you've had to pass the bar or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So you're like already been around people, you've kind of have a bit of experience behind you. Whereas in the arts, you could be dancing for 3 months and blow up, and then like, you know what I mean? Or like actors that just get like, people that just get cast out of nowhere off the street or whatever, and suddenly they're like these big shots or whatever.
Yeah.
It could be that there's a way higher percentage of people like that who have no experience, no anything, and they're just being told like, hey, you could come and do this thing, or like, you know, like dancers who are relatively okay, but then it's like, you know, they're not going to get paid to do different jobs, and then someone says, oh, do you want to be in this I don't know, like Rita Ora music video or something. And for them, that's a big deal because they haven't, you know, like if you're a lawyer and whatever, you've been there for like 7-8 months, like a high profile thing isn't enough in itself because you're like, you understand your value, you understand how long this has taken you. So just that exposure in air quotes isn't really worth anything. Whereas in dance, the exposure can be worth something to you because you're just a beginner. So do you know what I mean? It's like a 17-year-old that's been dancing for 3 months. It's like being in a music video on TV that I can show my mum. Like, and they don't realize they're getting taken advantage of or making things worse for everyone else.
But I think that's the problem, isn't it? There's legalities in the medical field, in the law field. Where it's like, no, hold up, you can't do that. Like,
and it's just standard practice. You
standard
get
practice.
paid.
We don't have that.
We
don't. It's the Wild West. Like anyone can do anything they want. And the problem is not with the performer a lot of the time. It's with production knowing what they can get away with. And that's where you know, I have a big gripe with labels and production companies. I just want to shout at them. But I mean, you know, writing music video treatments that have got massive budget but not writing it to the budget that you have to know how many people you can pay is just mad to me and insane. And then expecting the performers to take the cut and not the crew, and a crew shouldn't take cut, but neither should the performers. Anyone in involved in the same thing needs to be paid what they're due to be paid. I was going to speak about something, but I'm not going to. Okay. But it's I can say, like, if a production has budget for something, they will sometimes go to someone who's going to save them more money. Now, I don't know what the savings for, unless it's just to put in their pockets, because the budget's for the performance. Where's the rest of the money going? In their pockets. And we've had that so many times and been told other agencies have quoted less. And then we work out that if they've quoted less, the dancers are getting less and getting under minimum. So I'm in a bit of a gripe with that at the moment. Because I think the other, just to kind of play devil's advocate, although I'm very much on your side, but like, I think there is a thing where also in business, in any business, but also especially as a freelancer, as I've learned, the negotiation process is like notorious, right? It's the whole like Wild West with the guns, and then it's like, what's your rate? What's your budget? And then it's like, who's going to break first? And it's like, this is the known thing. And it's like, even, you know, doing it, I do that with friends even, you know, it's like, you might hit me up for work and it's like, okay, well, what's your budget? You're like, well, what's your rate? Because it depends. And it's not us trying to really get one over on each other. No. It's just what's worth the money and what's worth the time.
And for me, it's like, well, that depends. Are you talking about a cheaper job? Because depending on the circumstances, I might do it or I might not. You know,
totally.
You could offer me something and say, oh, it's £100 budget, and I'll go, yeah, I'm happy to do that. Or you could offer me the same thing and say it's a £5,000 budget, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. It really depends on the circumstances. I'm not going to say it. It depends what the job is. But it's also, it's like real, and as a professional, I start to understand these things. If you want me to do, let's do an example, because I feel like with these conversations, we often talk around the money, and I'm like, let's just talk about real things, right? If as a photographer, let's say you ask me to come and do a shoot for you, let's say you're the agency, right, or whatever. Luke, can you come and do a shoot for me? And you're like, I can only afford to give you 200 quid for the day, and it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m, right? And let's say it's for you, we're friends. Even if we weren't friends and you were kind of just my agent or whatever, it's for freestyle. Like, I know you're kind of a smaller business and you're kind of working from home and doing, you know, trying to help dancers. I know the history. I know what is important to you, right? There's a very good chance I'm going to say, yeah, cool, let's do it. I've done photography jobs a full day for less than £200, right? Now, if you come to me, again, like we were saying about the £5,000 away, if you come to me and you say, oh, I can offer you £1,000, let's say, for that same job, day of photography, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m, exactly the same thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. What's it for? And you say, oh, well, it's for Nike. It's for shooting Lewis Hamilton meeting someone or whatever at a Nike event, and they're going to use the photos for their next they want to have 10 pictures that they're going to print out and use on their billboards in New York, LA and London for the next 3 years. I'm not doing that for $1,000. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's the same job, it's the same amount of work, it just depends on the context. So I think this is where it is like, it becomes nuanced in a way where we, you know, people will say, don't accept less than your rates, or don't do stuff for free and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it is very contextual. And the problem is, we had this conversation off the pod, but I still get messed up by this now and then. I still underquote and stuff like that. And it happens, you know, but it's like, it happens way less. And I have the kind of business know-how to be like, this is what I'm worth. There's certain situations where I'm okay taking less. There's certain situations where I'm going to ask for way more, like the Nike situation or whatever it is. And that's what you develop over time. And as an adult, like even me, I'm not blinded by big sums of money. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, we're going to pay you. You know, I did a thing with, I sold some pictures to Penguin Publishing ages ago. And I think I'm not, I won't say the whole amount, because people watching my pockets, but no, but they offered me to buy some of my pictures that I had taken years ago. And they offered me, I think it was $250 per picture, right? Which I was fine with. We still had to have a negotiation about the contract, because the contract they sent me I didn't like, and they could use it for a lot longer than I wanted them to use it for that money. But what I could have said is, for a picture that all I had to do is take it off my hard drive. I retouched it a little bit just for me. I didn't even have to. It was just because I'm like, if this is going to represent my work, let me retouch it a little bit and make it good for print. But I sent them however many pictures they asked for. And then when I looked at the contract, I was like, yeah, I'm not, like, you know, I think it was like there was no time limit on it, and I was like, nah, like if you're gonna do this, I want to do it like for only for a year for that money, or you can pay me more if you want it to be an outright thing, or whatever. But it's like, for something that's a picture on my hard drive, all I had to do was click send and send a few emails for 250 quid per picture. I could have easily, as a young 17-year-old or whatever, and you know, 250 is not nothing for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm still not rich, but I'm not blinded by money anymore. Even if it's a lot, I'm still like, but what are you paying for? How much is this worth compared to other photographers? What would you pay if this was someone else? If they're like my favorite photographers that I look up to, and what would they say in this situation? They would say, let me check that contract. You know what I mean? And not just, oh, I'll take anything. So
it's all relative.
And it's all, on a different day, 100 quid could mean a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you're asking me to come to take pictures of you at your house just for you to use on social media, and you're going to pay me 100 quid. I'm like, of course, as a friend, like, you're giving me 100 quid to do you a like, I would do that for free, like, as a friend. So 100 quid is a lot in that situation, but it's nothing if it's a worldwide company.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I mean, I think we use Nike as a big example, right? Because it is a big brand and they have sponsored the scene, you know, in stuff. And I think it's, you know, when you're saying about, let's say you're doing something, you'd want to, if someone offered you something lower budget and said, this is what I've got, what can I get for this? Your mindset will be, and I think a lot of people on the scene have this, well, the bigger picture is I'm helping something in our scene here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of money. But
or a friend or whoever.
Yeah, and I'm not going to, I know this person has their agenda, they've got no agenda, or I know they're not going to, you know, screw me over. If this gets bigger, they'll probably bring me in. And then, like you said, Nike, on the other hand, they're offering this. It's not enough, £1,000. It doesn't matter what your day rate is. Then it matters who the client is. Yeah. And to have a, you know, like you said, a billboard of Nike, one of your pictures, a dancer maybe in Nike. You know, you can't use that image for 3 years, and they're only going to give you £1,000. I mean, it happened with Beats headphones. We were mentioning brands.
I don't mind.
They wanted dancers, and they only wanted to pay. I think that was £1,000 with £300 buyout for like a year. This is Dr. Dre's brand. This is hip hop. This is the deeper level of it. If you're going to use people from his scene in a way, and only pay them this money on a pair of headphones that I don't know how much Beats is worth now.
One pair is more than your...
Right, then it's relative. £1,000 a day is a lot of money, but not for you.
Yeah, and it's also not for the situation. Like, what are you getting out of it? Now, having said that Nike example, right? There is a situation where I would work for Nike for free, right? On a thing that they're making millions of. Like, there is a situation.
Okay.
But it has to be really a calculated career steps, if you know what I mean. If what I'm going to get out of it is so valuable to me that I can't afford to turn it down,
okay,
I might consider working for free, right? If
an interview with someone big.
Exactly. If they said, like I think I deserve to be paid for like interviewing or podcasting. Yeah. If they said, we can get you an interview with LeBron James now.
Sure.
I'm doing that for free. And they're like, you know, we can't pay you, but I'm not like, well, I'm not working for free.
But would you not negotiate and go, look, this is a great opportunity for me, but is there an expense I can get? Is there a small fee I can get? I totally get this is an opportunity for me, but as a big brand, I know a lot of people wouldn't have that confidence to do that. And I understand why. Like you said, it feels like an opportunity and is an opportunity. Yeah. Not going to lie about that. But I think this is where, and sorry that I interrupted you. No. I think this is where we have to stop that. Yeah. Because that breeds all of the, like, I had something through for Bentley. Yeah. And they refused to tell me the money and they kept trying to get me to do self-tapes. And I don't associate Bentley with our scene. I don't think they've ever been...
Besides being in a rap video.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, we all, you know, I don't know. So for me, Bentley's this big thing but...
You're not going to blind me with that.
Brands come along every day. Yeah. And it's not the same people working. There's so many people that work for Nike, right? You might deal with someone that day. If they were working on the Wednesday, they might be like, oh, Luke, we've got £200 to give you to... Yeah. Let's give him... Should we give him £200? Yeah. That could have happened. For sure. But it was just the person you were talking to. So the way I see it is there is one of us, but there is thousands of them. Yeah. And if we have that mentality almost to the point that we're obnoxious... Yeah. What are they going to do? And I know it's hard. And
sometimes giving you money is quicker than trying to get you for free. So I'll just give him £200. Yeah, just give him £1,000. It's fine.
It's a gesture. If I understand that you're in this world like me and I'm earning my money, you're taking. I don't know. Like,
but I think I think kind of the point is like, or my point is like, there's a lot more grey area than sometimes I hear people talk about in terms of these things. Because it's like, okay, maybe in that situation I'm going to be like, all right, but like if it's a project with LeBron James and stuff, maybe I'm going to be way more I just kind of threw that one out.
Why wouldn't there be money?
Yeah, why wouldn't there? Yeah, like, but that's what in my head I'm like, there are situations where these things have happened. Like if it's like, or even if I approach them or if I'm like, oh, it would be good to build a partnership with this company or whatever. It's like, you have to understand the hierarchy, the dynamic, who's profiting. It's like, if you're an employee for them and you're like, this is the thing. If, let's say that situation, Nike said you can interview LeBron James, blah, blah. If it's Nike are going to get me in the room, the podcast is going to be on the Capsule platforms. They're going to share it and all the traffic is going to come to my platform. Yeah. I get to curate the questions. I get to dictate everything. Maybe LeBron James is a crappy example, but maybe like a big dancer or something, right? The Twins or something, right? I'm in charge of everything. It's going on my platform. It's for me. Yeah. Then it's not me doing Nike a favor. It's us partnering, and they're getting something that they can use, which is the podcast and blah blah. Maybe I'm going to say, you know, if you want me to wear clothes, you can give me some clothes. I'm not giving it back afterwards, but do you know what I mean? Like, kit me out in Nike for sure. I'll wear your stuff if I get to keep it. Yeah. You get a Nike sponsored thing. You get a talk, and maybe you can suggest me some questions. And if you want me to throw them in, I'll throw them in. Like if I decide to throw them in, I'll throw them in. But in that way, it's like, I'm not in that way. Yeah, the hierarchy is not Nike are hiring me, Nike are partnering with me so that we both get equal benefit. And in my estimation of it, I think that's an equal benefit. Let's say this hypothetical. But if Nike were like, come and interview the Twins, or whoever it is, it's all going up on Nike saying you can't use it, you can't talk about it. I'm like, well, if I can't talk about it, if you want to put rules on it, you want to tell me what to say, you want to dictate what I'm doing and when I show up for whatever, you want me to be in meetings, any of this, there needs to be a contract. And if there needs to be a contract, there needs to be money. So it's like,
I was going to say, like, when does it end? Because your interview with a big dancer could get to Sky News or da-da-da, or da-da-da. And I understand news platforms aren't necessary, but Or would a clip of your interview be used in a Nike advert? And if it is, therefore,
well,
blah,
this
blah,
is
blah.
what I'm learning. Actually, like we're live in the middle of me learning, but like about like why contracts are super important. And I'm gonna start doing this even if what I said about you, like, oh, can you come shoot some pictures for my social media? I'm gonna do a mini contract and just be like, sign this and let me know, because that's the thing, is like, if we have this thing, it's like, I want to put these in, and there's a certain level of that where I'm like, cool, because if Nike get me in a room, like, we're just using this one example, if Nike get me in a room with the twins, I am selling every aspect of that. Like, I'm taking screenshots and putting it on t-shirts. Like, I'm monetizing the crap out of that.
Yeah.
And so for me, and again, this is where I think the gray area is, because for different people, you could be like, hey, if you're going to use that clip, like, you have to pay me. And I'm like, okay, let's put these in the contracts and see what the limits are. But it's like, if we're partnering and I think the situation is a mutual benefit, you're getting an interview and I'm getting an interview.
Yeah.
Just to use this one example again, but like, let's both monetize that. You're of course going to monetize it on a way bigger level, but it's an equal thing that we're then going to both run with. If you happen to have a machine behind it, you're going to make millions and I'm going to make a couple of grand. In that situation, cool. And then this is where it's like, I think it was like, it's hard to put rules on it. Like, don't ever work for free. Don't ever work for a business. It's really hard, because it's like, it's not that, it's more like, you really have to understand what you're doing in order to not let people take advantage of you or the scene in general. Because you might be fine dancing in a whatever music video for free. You might be like, well, I want to do this, blah blah. But it's also like, you shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like,
I totally get you, and I think this is the mindset thing, because I totally know what you're saying, because partnership is important, and keeping, working with someone and allowing something, because I've only worked with them the first time and I'll do this time, and I get it. But I think my question, and I'm like this as well, but I think my question now is, this is how we've got to where we've got to, and it's specifically with these big brands and big artists, for dancers, is like, that's a weird balance to me, that you and Nike would monetize the same way.
Sure. And this is like I'm talking like one in a million situation where that would happen.
And I think, and you're right, but I think you're actually talking in a smart sense of like contracts and stuff like that. That's how we should be rolling. And I think, again, it's my thing of, why isn't there even £100 on the table? Yeah.
And I'm in my examples, I think I'm assuming that
they would come to you without an offer. And that's
I think I'm assuming that I've thought about that, and I've thought there's a, like, whatever that reason is,
it's not,
there's a reason that I'm like, oh, that's why there's no budget. Sure. Fine, I'll do it.
Well, I think,
you know what I mean?
I think it's good to ask them, like, oh, hey guys, just checking if there's budget for
why
this.
is there no budget even?
Why is there no budget? I feel we need to put them in those positions. It's kind of embarrassing. Look, I guess this is along the lines, I choreographed on something for BBC recently, and they wanted 3 dancers, right? And then they realised, we don't have the budget for 3. Can we have 2? Okay, cool. Then that's fine, as long as everyone's getting paid fair. Now, when I first started working with them, I did a slight deal on my choreography rate.
Right.
Yeah. And it wasn't anything under, but it wasn't the max of what I'd asked for. So they went sort of for the minimum. I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. Again, just so everyone knows, dance seems like the Wild West, but there are rates for dancers. For choreographers, it's a competitive field. There's nothing concrete for us, nothing solid. It's rubbish.
Right.
So that happened to me, but Free Your Style made sure the dancers got what they should get. And this shouldn't happen, but agencies, no, not all agencies, some agencies take a hit for their dancers when they care about them. Yeah. The ones that don't skim off the top. I'll just say that happens. Right. Everyone knows it happens and no one mentions it. That happens. So then I get a call back saying, we've now got the budget for the 3rd dancer. So I said, right, well, could we put my rate up to what I said and not do this deal? I literally did that for you because of budget, to make sure. And I was told, no, we don't have the budget for that. But
you now have the budget for a 3rd dance. Like, yeah. You see which is the priority.
I'm not stupid. We're not stupid. We're all, like, I just said, look, you can see how this looks to me.
Because they've already got you. So they're like, well, now we want to get a 3rd dancer. We don't want to keep 2 dancers and just pay people properly.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And I said, look, you have to, and I said to them on the phone, you've got to understand how weird this is. You telling me you've got no budget for me.
While telling me we've got more budget. for a dancer. It's like, what?
And then they went, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was someone telling them, and it's not their fault, but they were really embarrassed, and they went, it's cool, we're going to do the 2 and we're going to put your rate back up.
Which you just need to push back a little bit. And
and I think that's it, is like, you know, again, the whole Nike thing. Okay, is there budget for this? Like, let me know if you want to collab, that's cool. Just want to check if there's expensive. It's okay to ask that. It shouldn't scare anyone off. And if it does, it doesn't mean Nike aren't going to come back to you. They probably will come back to you, and it'll be a different person.
And even like I was saying with the Penguin thing, it's like they sent me the contract, and I said I might have even sent it to you at the time. I think I sent it to you and Kim J as well.
Yeah,
it was probably one of you two that told me like, hey, this isn't in the contract. But at that point, like I didn't have enough knowledge I wouldn't have spotted that.
Yeah,
but I did have enough confidence to come back to them and be like, yeah, before I confirm, can we change these things in the contract? Can you add this and this and this? Which it could have been like, oh, why? Like, you know, like someone who's younger maybe or less experienced is like, oh, it's a big publisher. And it was like the one person who's like the representative for contracts and all that. So she's writing me, and then I'm like pushing back on what she has to say. But it didn't have to be a big thing, because I just said, hey, there's no thing in it and there's no thing in it, whatever the details were. Can you just add those in before I sign? And she just went, okay. Like the next email was the adjusted contract. So she was like, yeah, fine. Like, and I think that's just kind of how things work. Like,
yeah, negotiation.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with we always say happy to negotiate, happy to talk. It doesn't have to be this weird, horrible thing.
Yeah.
If you don't have the budget and you want this, you can't get it.
And it's not personal. I think to some people it feels like an argument with a friend. It's like you say, oh, should we go to Nando's? And I'm like, oh, I want to have Chinese food. And then you're like, I want Nando's. And then it becomes a bit like we're going, well, what about Chinese food? What about And then it's like, why are we debating so much about a personal thing? Like, let's just eat something different. But with the business thing, that's how it goes, is you expect a back and forth. So when we had this conversation again off the pod where I got screwed recently. But where it's like, if you sometimes you propose a price and you're trying to like in the friend version of that, it's like I might know that you like Nando's, so then I'm like, oh, it's okay, we can go to Nando's today, and you go, oh, okay, thanks.
It's a compromise.
You don't want to do that with money. You don't want to go, oh, I know I charge this much per day, but I'll do it for half rates before they've said anything, because they'll go, okay, fine. And it's like, that's not how it works. You're supposed to go back and forth, and that's just everything. It's like going to a market when you it's not an argument, it's just, this is what we do, we bargain.
And people are making more money off us than we are ourselves every day.
Yeah.
Even
that person's salary for that day who's doing the negotiations probably making more than you.
Yeah, and look, I can't say it enough. Like, everyone wants a piece of what we do on this in this street dance world. Everyone wants it, from clothing to food brands to, like, how many times do you see dance in an advert or whatever? Just the theatre scene makes more money for the UK than football, and that's why tourists come. And we've only found that in the last couple of years, but we have not complaining. I mean, some people can say footballers get paid too much or whatever. They get even on sponsorship alone, they're making tons of money. And why is sponsorship this special thing in our scene? Like, Sunny has it.
Yeah, Sunny and Karam. It should be way more widespread.
Should be way more people having it. If you're going to have, Dr. Pepper or Pepsi or whatever, and you've got someone head spinning, why is that dancer maybe not got some sort of contract?
Yeah.
Why? Come on. Like, this is not, but we accept it. That's the issue. I've done it. I've been here for a while. I've done this. I've screwed myself over. I've not known my worth. I wanted to please people, but I'm so fed up. I did a live the other day because every time I have to negotiate every single job I do, I don't get what I asked for. I do get what I asked for, but in the sense of, I have an anxiety of, are they going to agree to it? Am I going to have to bend? Am I going to? And again, it's not about us showing off or whatever, but there's only so many times I can say, I've done this for this Golden Globe winner, I've worked on this, I've worked with this Oscar winner.
I don't have to prove myself every time. Like, it'd be nice to not have to.
Be nice to go, yeah, you've done this, it's amazing, we're going to give you what you want.
When it happens though, it feels so good.
It
like,
feels so
you just quote them and stuff, and they go, okay,
and
it happened to me
like
recently.
Them.
Yeah. I was like, here's my quote, and they were like, I got recently is like, I quoted someone for something at like what I thought was a good fee for me, or I'll be happy, and then they must have had more budget because they added to it. They were like, oh, okay, well, if that's your budget, can we also give you an extra day doing this? I was like, yes, you can. Like at the same budget that I had quoted without no negotiation. I was just like,
and maybe these people see your worth and they go, right, well, we have the money for it. Let's make sure we pay for it. Like,
and also it depends, you know, I think the whole thing is like understanding how, the more I understand how organizations work, and this is, you have to know, and I'm a massive advocate for this in every aspect, because it's like, I was talking about it in my workshop yesterday, but like, as dancers, we have to understand photography and video. We have to understand lighting. We have to understand clothing. Like how do you look good in clothes if that's what you're going to be doing, you know, on TV selling clothes or whatever. You have to understand music. In the same way, as a business person, you have to understand the structure of these companies and how they work and what sort of budgets you think they're working with. Because there's like, I can, you know, go to an event that I know has been funded by Arts Council and something, and like me and Jen have a game of this, like the producer game, like, right, how much do you think the funding was for this? Like what funding bid did they put in to make this event? Like we're at it, we're like, all right, this is probably like a 10 grand event, this is a 50 grand event, or whatever it is, and and then sometimes if we know the producer, we'll go and ask, like,
and you have that insight, which is so interesting.
How much is it? And then it's like, if we're close, it's like, oh. But I think, you know, especially with organizations, it's like, you know, you're going in, and if you think, you're like, all right, well, let's say my day rate is like, let's say it's like 300 quid for a day of photography. I'm bargaining about 300 quid, and then I say, well, like I quote them 400, and then they say, well, what about 350? And I'm like, well, what about 375? If they're working on a 100 grand project, this is nothing to them. Do you know what I mean? So really, it's like my day rate's 500 quid, and they're like 450. I'm like, yeah, done. Like, it's like, what are we arguing about? Like, it's already above my thing. This is nothing to you. The extra like 75 quid in a 100 grand budget. Yeah, they're just
not
like
an independent.
It's like, for the person producing it, it's not worth their time to negotiate that.
No,
right?
No,
But on a small scale, 75 quid, we're going to be going back and forth for days over 75 quid. So it's like, there's a time when I'm going to push harder to negotiate, because I'm like, you have 100 grand and you're going back and forth with me over the 50 quid. Don't bring me down 50 quid when you're working on this big budget or you're this big of a company.
And they're on salary.
Yeah, and you're on salary. It's like, it's 50 quid. Pay my fee. Don't try and bring it down for 50 quid. But with a small organization or a, like community thing where I'm like, that 50 quid could go to like something else, or you're really pulling at the like the last bits of money, and you say, can we pay you like 25 quid less? I'm like, yeah, of course you can. That's fine. Like, because that 25 quid is going to make a difference. You know what I mean? And it's like knowing.
This is what I mean about the bigger picture. You know that's going to make a difference to that person, especially if it's low budget, independent, indie stuff. That's where.
And even maybe if I hold out on that 25 quid, they're going to say, well, then we can't afford you. We don't have 25 or whatever, you know, we don't have that extra 25 quid to give you. So it's either take a pay cut by 25 or 50 quid, or we don't hire. And it's like, fine, then let's go. Like,
I find independent people to work for are a bit more, most of the time, a bit more genuine. And when they are negotiating, it's literally because we're going to use that £10 to hire this because we actually need this extra light. And it's like, oh, I get that. I'm from this field. This is what we do. We're collabing. Collaboration should...
just in case.
Oh yeah, collaboration should work for everyone. It's no one's at a loss. I mean, I know, you know, when we've done films and stuff like that, I don't get a payment. I don't get a fee. That's kind of something I know, because my money could go somewhere on the, my thing is like, I want this to do well at the film festivals. It's kind of a great advertising for us as a company. Everyone gets something out of it. But then that's the person's choice who's sort of the seed of it all. But look, that's why there's, you know, Equity have this, and where don't do the agency thing anymore, I still sort of have all this in my head. But, you know, depending on how many million budget a film is, that's how much reflects in your pay. Yeah.
That's why the big stars have like a percentage of the revenue, right, in their contract.
Some of them do.
Yeah.
So an example of that is Star Wars. I mean, they said, look, you don't have to pay me a lot, just give me, if this is successful, 0.1%.
Yeah, which ends up being a lot.
That's merch, everything. Like they're cool.
There was something
smart.
Who was it that I just read turned down a contract with? Who was it? Turned down a contract with like Nike or something, and they offered him. That's going to annoy me all day. But part of the contract, they were going to pay him a base fee, but then offer him $1 per shoe sold, which is massive. Like, and he turned it down at the time because I think I don't know if it was Nike or Reebok or someone, but it was a smaller company. And he was like, I turned down $1 per shoe. It's like, you sell 1 million or whatever, you know, that's like crazy, like
percentage is smart.
Yeah.
It's really
and it doesn't
smart.
sound like a lot, but if you think of the scale of, again, do your research on the company, understand what's going on.
And that's the thing when we're working out for dance, when, you know, Ben and Layla are working out for dancers, Ben will sometimes go, look, this dance job is not worth the money, because if they do this, they're tied to this brand for a year. They can't work for these other big brands. So you have to be tactical. And it's not about being money grabbing. It's like, we don't want a dancer stuck in a contract.
Yeah.
It's not doing them any good.
Yeah. And even if the money seems good on pay, like the number seems good.
Yeah.
But you're like,
1,000,
what this?
wow. Yeah. And I get it. We're in tough times, but it's even more now that we could be like, look, you lot have been sitting at home watching art, looking at art, reading art, all of this. We if there was no dance and none of the stuff that we escapism, blah blah blah. I know it sounds corny, but where's the world?
Yeah, we have to understand the value of these things that we're bringing value to. Yeah, I find that so with dancers, where they're just like, they're like, oh, well, I can't charge that much or whatever, and I'm like what you do is so, like, it took you so long to learn this, you're so good at it, you know, but because you're around good dancers that are better than you, your self-worth is like, but it's like externally to the dance world, like we're a very small population of the world, you know. So outside of that, what we have is, even a very low level dancer is still better than the average person at dance. You're still worth something.
Well, I think that's, look, you know, like we're always comparing to lawyers and then functioning jobs. That they go to a lawyer workshop, they might go to a convention twice a year. We're constantly training, we're constantly going to workshops. We've got to keep up. It's part of our lives, it's part of the scene, it's the culture. You're in it, you're in the events, you're in the shows, you're in the, look at this, the Capsule. We're all in this thing and we work so hard. And I feel like people know their worth, but they're scared of losing a contact and losing the work. That's why, you know, it's got to be this global movement, I guess, like Taja Riley was pushing that. And I spoke to her a little bit on voice notes about, you know, she did a great thing for the Super Bowl. I mean, come on, that whole celebration was hip hop. Yeah. And you're going to have hip hop dancers and some of them are not going to be paid. Yeah. What? Yeah. I know. I mean, we go over this all the time. Like, why are we here? Like, I'm so fed up. I'm so tired. And there's times I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be negotiating with people, telling people why you need to pay this person this. It's only in the last few years that we realised we can charge for holiday pay. We don't get holiday pay. We're legally allowed to. Mad. People don't know you're legally allowed to charge a fee for late fees. We're human beings. We're working in this structure like everyone else. We're entitled to the same things. Yeah. So...
Also, what I was going to say, do you reckon it's like, so everyone in the business world understands that there's this negotiation thing that happens almost every time, right? But sometimes they just go, whatever, just pay him, that's fine. Yeah. But almost every time there's this negotiation. How much do you charge? This much? Okay, would you do it for this much? Or blah, 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 back and forth. Do you think that a lot of, you know, some people, like, let's say, like, younger dancers, where they're getting, like, taken advantage of, maybe it's to a certain degree, maybe it's less so the company's thinking, like, hey, let's get them over, but they're expecting a war. So they're saying, like, they come in and go, right, obviously we're going to like with me, and I think this is how every business person works. I have a highest and lowest, like this is how much I'm going to ask for, and this is where I'm going to walk away, right? And it's like, here's somewhere in the middle is where I would like to get paid. In the top, it's like, okay, I'm going to ask for this much. And then they go, well, what about, let's just put money on it. So let's say I'm going to ask for 500. My walk away is 300. I'm not doing it under 300. It's not worth my time. Well, I say 500. You say, what about 400? And I say, cool, let's go. Or I say 500, you say 250, and I say no. And then they say, okay, 300. I say, cool, let's go. Back and forth, right? So what if, like, let's say they start the thing and they say, well, they know me or whatever, and they say he's going to try and get us to pay him 500. Let's start him at 300. Let's say 300, expecting that we're going to end up like, if I'm the business, we're going to end up paying 400, but let's say 300. So then Luke's going to come back and say, well, what about 350? We've saved ourselves 50 quid, right? So they're doing the same thing on their end. So do you reckon there's an element of that where younger dancers don't know that that's a thing and just go, oh, that's the fee? Okay. Where really, like, it's like someone says, hey, we'd like you to dance in our music video. Could you do it for free? And what they're expecting is they're going to say, no, this is my fee. But they go, yeah. And the people go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You know what I mean? Like they're not trying, they're just expecting you to raise it. And when you don't, you've missed the trick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like they okay, this is how we're seen. All right. On the street dance scene, we are, like I said, outside with boom boxes. They don't know that we go into a home. They think we live in places all together with bunk beds. I'm not even kidding you.
Yeah.
If you're expected as a grown man to share a bunk bed or a room, a double bed with someone else,
like on a job,
how do you feel about that?
Wild.
It's crazy.
I've shared rooms for jobs. I don't love it.
You shouldn't even be sharing a room.
Yeah.
Like, look. This is why. Look, I'm going to say I've never been the biggest fan of equity, but they're there, right? We can lean on them. We can say these are their rates.
Yeah.
We can say this is what's expected. This is not. I always tell dancers, look, just throw equity at them, not in a threatening way, but look, this is equity standards.
I've got someone backing me up.
Yeah, this is the backup. If you go to someone else, you're going to come up exactly the same battle. Then that cuts out any shenanigans of like, you know, all of this. I get there are some dancers that have left college and they want something for their show reel. That's fine. Go to the artists that can't afford to pay you, but are like, I've got travel money and food. I've never been signed by a label. I just want to make a video. Cool. There
Mutual benefit.
Yeah, but at the same time, casting directors don't care who you've danced for. They just want to see a snippet of you doing your very best. They don't care anymore that you've danced for a Rihanna or whatever. They don't care.
We were talking about this with Tally.
I promise you, if they see you do something so incredible in a phone video, just shot nicely outside, you know, shout out to Monkey Flip. You know, his vids look so cool.
Yeah.
I'd be like, cool. Like, okay, I need to do a shout out to Elliot Palmer, who's one of my favourite choreographers at the moment. I met him the other day, and he was at an event, and I said to Rhymes, I was like, I need to tell him he's one of my favourites. I don't know why. She's like, go and do it. Yeah. So, you know, and I followed his work, and I don't know who he's worked for actually, because I'm not blinded by artists and stuff with him. I look at his Instagram.
He's just a good.
I'm just like this guy, and I'm there going, God, this guy is going to be incredible. And then I think, who's going to screw him over for this incredible mathematics he puts out there? Who's going to be the first to go, we've only got this? No, not for him. No. And there's so many of us like that. Like what? So, forgetting my point, but where was I? Sorry, my bad. I just went on to Elliot Palmer. You're great. He's incredible. He can't be paying this dude £100. Like, no, are you mad? He's going to give you something so intricate and it's also, I think, like,
there is an element of like knowing your worth in the grand scheme of things, right?
That's what you were saying about negotiating and the dancer not knowing. Yeah. So yeah, like there is the ball game, like 350, 500, all this, and I think there's got to be more education in these colleges that are teaching people to be street dancers now. We never had that. We never had colleges. I'm from the generation there wasn't street dancing colleges. I never did that. And now there's the commercial course, the hip hop course, the street dance course, which is brilliant, is excellent. So institutions are making money off us. So when do we get the money? Yeah. What, you're just going to churn out these incredible professionals and choreographers? And
also, I feel like there's a bunch of teachers who are teaching people to be commercial dancers who don't work commercially. Like the teachers never worked commercially. So how do you know what you're doing?
Absolutely.
Like they should also have business courses in these things. Like in these institutions, like you should have a business module of understanding contracts, understanding freelance work. Like,
because what are you training?
I mean, you should have one in every school, to be honest, but even more so in these professional development colleges.
Yeah, and look, they need to, like you said, if you're going to have street dance on your syllabus, it's not a thing of, you know, in these colleges they invite an agent to come and watch. That's very theatre. That's very the come and book them for acting stuff, musical theatre, all that. If you're doing it for street dance, then encourage those dancers to invite a commercial agent or whatever, but also teach them you might not get an agent. Yeah. You might not be repped. I wasn't repped for anyone for years, and you have to do so. What are they paying for just to come out incredible and not get the money they're worth? Like, that's my big gripe.
And it's just seen as, I think, like, an agent will solve all your problems. Just get an agent. And it's also some people that like come to me and they're like asking me advice or whatever, like younger dancers, and it's like, oh, I want to get a show reel together and get some pictures done and blah, blah. And I'm like, for what? Because like you don't first of all, like, you don't even if you get on an agency, what jobs are you booking at right now? Because you can't do stuff. It's like you haven't developed enough. And also it's like, what do you want an agent for? Because like I've had people say that and it's like, but you work a full-time job. So what castings are you going to be able to go to? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like they're not understanding. It's like, okay, an agent, that might not be my hustle. Right now, my hustle is to do it this way or to develop this or they're going to leave their job and just get an agent. And it's like, but getting an agent isn't the be all and end all. It doesn't solve all your issues in a golden,
it's not at all.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's the thing is there's got to be an understanding between agents and the performer is that we're in a field that you're hardly on a salary.
Yeah.
Unless you're in musical theatre or these long contracts. That's great if you can get that, just do it. Get it, be safe, make your money. But there has to be like our policy, what Ben and Layla say is, look, if you can't make a casting, you can't make it. You might have a wedding, you might have a funeral, you've got a life. That has to be an understanding. Unless you are contracted to us and we're being paid to get you work, which is unethical. You can't do that. So there has to be an understanding of these people having full-time jobs, part-time jobs. If it's not working for us now, like there's so much that could be made simple in this industry. I'm so tired. I'm just a massive eye roll, like that emoji, that's me. But yeah, I mean, we haven't taught people how to negotiate. We haven't, look, there's a big like discrimination in a way against us in people's eyes. We're stupid. We're young. Maybe there's racism. There is racism.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
part of it.
Yeah.
There's misogyny. Yeah. There's all of that against us. But they want our cool. I said it to you before. They want the coolness. They want that rawness. But I don't want to really kind of pay you because you just exist in that world. I exist in mine. So therefore my money reflects how I see you.
And you see it in a way where I think it's like the tendency is, and I think the thing you're scared of in a way is like, okay, if I say no, they're just going to go find someone else who can do this thing. So I want to do the thing. Yeah. So I'm going to say yes. And I think, when you start to get to a certain level in your profession, you start to see where it doesn't work because you're only surrounded by other professionals. And this is where it's not to say everybody needs to just wait until they get good at their craft. It's just if people on the, let's say, lower or amateur levels were all like this, it would be way easier. Because me as a videographer, right, the other videographers in the scene, there's not really anyone that's at the level that I'm on, and not in terms of I'm the best, but there's there's a lot of videographers in the scene who are better than me, or at least on the same level, right? Joe and Max and all these people and Toby and everyone. But like, if you want someone that's, let's say, around my level of videography, you can hit me up. I'm going to say, here's the fee. And then they're going to say, we'll get someone else for cheaper. Okay, go, try. Joe, what's your fee? Oh, damn, that's similar to Luke's. Oh, Max, what's your fee? Oh, shit, that's similar. Whoever, like, you're going to go to like Melissa in a Melly Crisp. Like, you're going to ask her, oh, it's higher than Luke's. Shit, probably. I don't know. But you know what I mean? And then you're going to come back to me and go, all right, fine, we'll pay. Because I know everyone who can do what I can do and works on the level that I work on, we all have the same standards. If you want free, you're going to end up with worse than me, which is fine. And that's happened to me. I tell my rates and they say, we got someone cheaper. And then I see the product and I'm like, yeah, you did. Yeah. Totally. Which is, and that's fine. And that's where I have the confidence that now if people are going to come to me, they've got the fee most of the times. And it's because they chose me as opposed to wanting someone else's style or whatever. But I think when you're like a new dancer, you feel that panic of like, I don't have anything and I'm confident I have something to offer and I have something that's worth that money, and that differs from all those other videographers. They're all amazing, but if you come to me, you're going to get something that they're not going to be able to do, and vice versa. If you go to them, you're going to get something that I can't do. Yeah. As a first-time dancer, especially in these colleges, I feel like it's just drilled into you how you're one of a million. Like every time, it's like the industry is so competitive. There's a million. You're going to have to work hard. There's a million other dancers. Like I don't know. This is what I hear people talking about.
But there's the truth in that, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I know it's not encouraging, but that is. We're overly saturated.
Yeah. But if it was also drilled into them, but charge this much, no matter who, if you knew that anyone that comes out of a dance college would not do a job because it's drilled into them from the beginning, you're not ever allowed to take a fee less than this much, right? Because that's equity and that's equity. And as soon as you walk out of these doors, you do not accept work for less than this money. If that was drilled into them, similarly to how much ballet is drilled into them, how much, whatever is drilled into these students, then you could walk out and be like, if someone approaches you
Confident.
for a job, you could say, they could say, well, we want to do you for free. And it's like, well, okay, like, go find someone else then, because anyone that's gone to my college or these 7 other colleges, none of them are going to do it for cheaper.
Well, that's what.
But at the moment, it's not. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's not the thing.
Blessed Dancers Network. Like, shout out to them, because
they're great.
the group of dancers, they're not getting anything from this.
Yeah.
They're just trying to make this better for everyone. And I had a meeting with Lily about it, and you know, they are trying to drill it into these colleges. Look, get your people to sign up. You know, I think there's a bit of laziness on Equity's part, because they're not setting rates, and I don't know if you want to know the technicals, but in regards to TV and theatre, there is someone for them to go to with the rate.
Right.
Whereas apparently for us, there isn't. So it's labels, productions, So it's about us putting the wall up, going like, you know, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And then slamming the door in their face.
Here's the rates that you have to offer me.
Yeah, so we have to sort of do it, you know, Game of Thrones style, Battle of the Bastards. You know, Jon Snow's, I don't know if you know what episode. Okay, cool.
No, but I mean, people listening might.
Yeah. So guys, do you remember when Jon Snow's in the middle and everyone's like closing in on him, and he gets stuck underneath, and then he like shoots up, he's like, I'm out. Really dramatic. That's kind of how we have to be without the blood. So yeah, it's just doing it from our circle. We're all linked, we're all facing outside, kick off whoever we, you know, and just be like, this is that, yep, cool, you want to go, unlink, you're going to make your money. Like, that is so simple to do. I have spoken to Dancers Network about an incentive. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, so I won't. I think because they want to do a big flood of it, and hopefully it's something that's going to help unrepped dancers and rep dancers, and we're all in the same field. So I will come to the capsule about that.
Yes.
But
and if Dancers Network are listening, I'd love to do something with you guys.
Yeah, get Lily, Erin, they're all, you know, Aisha, they're all just really cool, and they're just really working so hard. So hard for everyone. So yeah, come talk to Luke.
For sure.
But yeah, I just want to change the mentality, because I know what you're saying, like, isn't it worth collabing? Isn't it worth getting that thing?
Yeah.
And
but
we've just
it's
told
not
ourselves
even
so much that we've lost sight of that. I get that a big job can hook you on something else. I totally get it. But why is there no money?
And the thing is as well, it's like, when you know your worth, and when you have experience, and this is the thing about not rushing into, like, you don't have to become a working dancer in the first 3 months of doing a class. Like, learn about the industry, understand what you're doing, like, learn how these things work, learn your craft, learn what your craft is worth, like, get experience. When you get experience and when you know your worth, I think both ends start to fall into place, because it's not really a problem for me now. Like, I make mistakes and stuff like that, but it's very rare that I feel like I got taken advantage of, because I know what I'm doing, you know? So whether or not I do things for free or I do things for a lot of money,
there'll be a strategy.
It's all it's all strategy, and it's all, I chose to do that, and I'm happy with it, you know? So I think when you know your worth, that doesn't, we often say, like, know your worth in the sense of know that you're worth a lot, but sometimes you're not worth a lot. And that's fine if you know. Not to say that just as a dancer, but me, it's like, I understand very well myself. Let's say myself as a photographer, I understand myself very well. I understand my what I'm worth, how much time and effort, and what other people charge, and blah blah blah. Right? For a lot of jobs, I know what I would charge, and I know where let's say I'm not needed, and the situation that could come up where it's like, hey, Drake is shooting a music video in London. We've got our photographers. Yeah, I love Drake. But I'm thinking of, like, what would I do?
Love hearts.
Yeah, just me, like, with the big anime eyes. So, like, let's say Drake's shooting a music video in London. We have a budget for a photographer. We've got him. He's this guy, and he's our photographer, and we're paying him a full rate. You happen to be casting dancers, they're all getting full paid, and you're like, hey, Luke, I can get you on set if you want, and they'll let you shoot on set. Cool. Like, I'm not worth anything to this production, in a way. They've got, not in the sense of my skill set isn't worth anything. But
they've already got everything.
They've casted who they need. They've got everything. I'm an extra.
Yeah.
There's no budget in there for me. I can let them use, I can say to them, hey, if I take any good pictures and you want to use them, I'd be happy to give you them. I don't have to. I can also keep them for myself. But in that situation, I'm like, listen, it's true. There's no budget for me. You've told me like, hey, I've casted everyone, blah, blah. I'm just getting you on set with a press pass.
If you want.
If I want to. Exactly. And then in that stage, I go, right, my worth on this is 0. Like, I'm not giving anything to that. Like, you know what I mean? If I don't do this, they're not losing out.
And then it's not work, then you're getting experience.
Exactly.
And the
However,
materials.
if they come to me and they say, we need a photographer, right, there's worth immediately. You need a photographer. There's a gap. So I can, I might lower my rates if I feel like it. But there's something there that I need to be aware of. And I think this is what I say, like knowing your worth is relative in each situation. And that only comes from like experience.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And when you're fresh out of college, like negotiating stuff with big companies who have years of experience and training in how to get you for free, you're kind of up against it. And this is, I guess, full circle.
They
like
know what they're doing.
Why you have an agent.
They gaslight you all the time. Like my first music video was for Mystique and I got £90 for a 16-hour day. Woo. And I was like, it's all right, I've got my other 3 jobs, working in the bar, doing coat check, doing all these things, cleaning, whatever. And I'm getting my £90, but I've been in a Mystique video. Did that help my career? No.
And those things rarely do.
They don't.
Like having a big name when it's like, okay.
So how many millions of views has that video got now? How much is it monetized? Anyway, so it's that. But you're totally right, because obviously we do work experience sometimes. Back in the day, I think you asked if you could come and assist on a casting. And where we didn't have the budget to pay you, I bought you some tea and you travel, whatever. And whereas you were so helpful there.
Oh, thanks.
We didn't need you, but I know you wanted the experience. But I would never allow anyone to do loads of work experience in the same thing, because then it gets a bit like...
Well, I feel like sometimes I have to like almost fight you to let me help you with stuff, because sometimes I'm like, oh, like if you ever need like some photography, I'm happy to, and you're like, no, I'm not doing it until I can pay you. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm offering it for free. And you're like, no, I'm not doing it until I can pay you. And it's like, I super appreciate that, you know?
I have a big thing about that, and it's funny because I'm
like, take the gift.
Yeah, I know.
It's a Christmas present.
I think I just have this thing in my head, like, if this is what I'm fighting for, I've got to...
But which I get.
But I understand.
Yeah,
it's like, look, Latisse did a concept video for gigs quite a few years ago, and there's Ivan was in it, Jelly, Ken did some choreography, and she asked me to do Fire, and she asked me how much my rate was, and I'd written a concept video with Latisse. I mean, I haven't shot it yet. She was actually the idea for the main part.
Oh, cool.
I said, look, I'll do this for you as a favour. But it was always my interest to pay her a minimum independent film rate anyway. I think it's £100 a day. But it was more like, listen, I can do this for you as long as you just need me for 2 hours and then I'll shoot off. Yeah. So I was happy to do that for her, because I knew no one was... I mean, I knew she offered it because it's essentially a stunt and it's dangerous and all that. But I thought, if we're all collabing... Let's all collab. It's cool. Like, I know
what's the worth to the thing, and who's getting paid? Because if someone's getting paid, where is that money going? Is it going into, you know? Like,
and I you know, yes, I could have taken the money, but I want her to be a part of something that I'm doing at some point, and I'm like, look, let's just collab on it, and it's cool. So she's not a big corporation. She's not a big...
And this is it's just from pure experience and like, just understanding how all these things work. And I think this is why it's like, if you are new and you are an up-and-comer, it's like you have to work with like an agent or a manager, or at very least have a mentor who you go to. I still do it now. Like, I still come to you. So like, there's people that if I have a question and I'm needing it less and less, the more experience I get, but I'll just be like, this is out of my depth. Let me ask for advice before I get screwed.
Absolutely.
Like, you know?
And look, there's times people write to us. We get so many dancers submitting their stuff. Yeah. And I feel like they've all been pre-packaged by a college or what they've seen on Instagram, and they come to us and they're really talented, but there's something like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, oh, it's cool, chill. And I'll say, look, we're not going to take you on, but I wanted to have a 20-minute session with you, go through your pictures, go through your CV, go through your footage. Let's chat about it. This is a reason why we're not taking you on, but I think you'll be good for AJK, one of the other smaller, Aaron Sillis, you know, I think you'll be good for these people. And we've had people go, I'm so thank you for that, because I never had that kind of... And if I want to get our scene sorted in the way that I'd like to be treated, I've got to practice that. Yeah, it takes
100%.
time and you're not getting paid, blah, blah, blah. But how are we going to
benefits
get
in
the
long run.
change? And educate people. And I'd literally say to them, look, just think outside the box. Who are you copying? Who are you inspired by? Don't carbon copy yourself. The moment you can, everyone's got weird in them. The moment you can step into your weird a little bit, everyone's going to love you. Just, we need to know how to find you, be you. That's it.
Like, I mean, we don't have time for the conversation, but like, there's just like dancers that use the same photographers in the same poses in the same location,
right?
And it's just like, I can see like 20 people that have done, it's the same picture just with a slightly different person in it, and I'm like,
well, a lot of agents tell you to go to one photographer, right? So with us, we have several photographers who give us a discount, because I know it can be expensive. So like, we recommend 4 to 5 people. You're one of them, and we're just like, go to these people. They've got completely different photos. Whatever your bag is, maybe next year you go to the next one. Change it up a bit. You know.
But my friend Abe is doing acting, and like he goes to different headshot photographers depending on what sort of work he wants to get and what like.
Exactly.
It's just, I don't know. It's like, also, if your whole thing is as an artist is your identity, why are you trying to look and package yourself like every other person?
It's too many the same.
The other conversation, which we don't have time for, is when these things where companies are trying to take advantage of dancers. What I get annoyed at is when dancers try and take advantage of dancers. A company gets them and says, hey, do this thing for us. And then they say, go and get 4 more dancers, but don't pay them. Like, they don't say outright. They say, go. And then that dancer turns around and comes and goes, hey, can you come and do this thing for me? And people get fooled because they're like, oh, well, if it's a dancer saying, if it's this dancer, this choreographer that I know and he's well known in the scene, then I'll do it for them. But it's not for them. They've got screwed by a company. And now maybe they're getting a fee. Maybe they're saying,
happens.
We'll give you a £500 fee if you can bring 5 dancers, but those dancers, there's no budget for them. So it's like the only way they can keep the job is by screwing over other dancers.
Happens. We know.
Oh, it happens to
I
me.
can't mention the name.
Me
It was
too.
a company that was always receiving Arts Council funding, and never paid their dancers for over a decade.
Jesus Christ.
And so it's happening.
I see it happen all the time with little commercial stuff where it's like the dancers are doing stuff for free, but I'm like, well, that brand is attached to it. So who's paying for this? And then you see it's like someone's getting paid, but then it's not trickling down, and it's like your dancers are screwing over other dancers, which it infuriates me more than the business people, because it's like, cool, like in my head it's like it's almost like an honorable war, you know, like when it's like another army.
Switch sides.
And it's like, I see you across there, I have my sword, you have your sword. It's like, cool, you're trying to kill me, but this is the war. But when it's someone in my own camp that's working for them and stabs me in the back, I'm like, you're supposed to be.
You're meant to be with.
Like, I can see, like, if it's like a Nike executive coming to me like, Luke, we want to talk about a dance job. I'm like, shing, pull out as well. Okay, and he's like, shing, and he's like, let's go. And it's like, fine, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm like, you're supposed to try and get me. I'm supposed to try and get you. I know I'm trying to get more money than I'm worth. You're trying to get less money than I'm worth. Like, let's go. But then when it's like a dancer going, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing, can you come and do it, and I'll get you some free trainers, and I'm like, but wait, what's the conversation with Nike? Because you're getting paid, like, not Nike, I'm not just they're just the biggest brand I can think of. Nike and Drake are all my examples, but it's like, you're getting paid from Nike. Did they ask you to get me? Or was it your initiative to get me? Either way, you shouldn't be getting me.
And you would know this if you had a contract. Yeah. So
it's just like that.
This is what I'm saying.
Me.
I'm not saying we've got to be gatekeepers, but we do have to be gatekeepers in regards to people who are outside of our scene. It can't be that one person's like, no, I'm with you, and they're out the door like, because no, you're on this side. We kick them out if it's not good enough. Cool. We got our battles. We don't need you like. Oh, you come in, you got the money to infiltrate our scene? Cool, come. Like, but it could be so simple. I think that's where I get
And upset. I think for me, it's like also, in a way, like I accept people are always going to be corrupted by money, whether that's on a small level or a huge level. But it's more like us, we have to be careful of that as well. We have to know, like, okay, this is a person I know, I've known for years, and they're a dancer in the scene. Are they being corrupted by money in this one particular situation? And then if I look and I'm like, oh, tell me this. I'm like, I'm out.
Well, it's integrity, isn't it? It's integrity. Like, there's already a choreographer, again, won't name, who was acting as agent, casting and choreographer, and skimming 20% off dancers' work, you know, a couple of years ago. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're widely spoken about. Equity were looking for them, and they even rang me about them. I said to this person, you can't do that. It's a conflict of interest. And if you're going to take commission from dancers, you need to be looking after them. It can't just be because they've come to your open casting and they've got the job, therefore I'm tied to your 20%. That's unethical. So look, it's happening, and with social media, people are calling. We just need to get brave, and and just be like, nah, it's not worth it. It's not for me. If everyone's on that page, I know it's going to take time, and hopefully this thing with Dancers Network is going to work. I just, it's just how we're seen. It's just how we're seen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million other things I would love to chat with you about. I'm sure we will continue talking after we finish the pod, but we got to keep it in a certain time limit. So thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to have these chats with you. If anyone listening wants to find out more about you or what you do, or look up the agency, or even your acting, any of that, where can they find you?
So I don't have a personal Instagram. Free Your Style Co is our agency, and it's not just talent, it's production and all that jazz. And I'm a Twitterer, so Nadia Sohawon.
I know, I follow you,
on Twitter, and that's where a lot of my acting stuff is. I don't really use Facebook anymore, but I guess what's the next social media thing to come out? What's the next platform? We haven't even spoken about TikTok and what it's doing to the dance world. But I just a note on TikTok.
Yes,
well done to those dancers that are really making it work for them and monetizing and being creative and using it for the good of it, and thumbs down to those that are just stripping the culture and what we're about. But really impressed with the Kieran Lyres, the Melly Crisps, like what they're doing with it is incredible. I'm all for entrepreneurs and forward thinkers. But thanks for being here. This episode was part of the collaboration between Breakin Convention, One Dance UK, Project Breakalign.I, and the Capsule. There will be others, I believe, coming out. You can find those organizations in the description of this. You can also check out the Capsule. We have an Instagram page at thecapsule.ldn. We have a weekly podcast where we kind of break down topics and relevant themes of the week every week. I have some guests with me, some friends that come and join on this very sofa. Check that out. And some more, like I said, some more interviews coming. They're all out of order from when they were recorded, so I don't know which is going to be in which order, but they're all really good actually. All the ones I have in the bank are solid interviews, so I'm happy about that. And there's some more planned, so just keep in touch with the Capsule. A lot coming up for us, and thank you again to One Dance UK, Breakin Convention, Project Breakalign, and Nadia. And and check out Breakin Convention Festival, which is coming up very soon, a couple of weeks. Obviously you can find the link in the description, and definitely check that out. So see you later everyone, have a good week, and see you soon.